Do you find yourself waking up in the dead of night, usually around 3 a.m., staring at the ceiling, your mind suddenly wide awake? It's a frustrating and unsettling feeling, isn't it? You finally drift off to sleep, hoping for a full night of rest, only to have this internal alarm clock go off just a few hours later, leaving you feeling tired and groggy the next day. It feels like a secret challenge that only happens in the quiet hours, and it can really impact how you feel throughout the day, affecting your energy, your mood, and even your ability to think clearly. You might wonder if this is just a normal part of getting older, something you have to accept. But what if I told you there might be some surprising reasons behind this pattern? Reasons you might not have considered in this video. We're going to explore some of these less obvious culprits that could be interrupting your precious sleep around that 3 a.m. mark. And we'll look at simple, practical things you can do about them. Understanding why it's happening is the first step to finding a solution, and the answers might truly surprise you. So, stick with me until the very end, because there's something I'll share that could make a real difference. Now, let's really dig into some of the things that could be playing a role in those frustrating 3 a.m. wake-up calls. One often overlooked factor is how your body is handling its energy throughout the night, particularly related to your blood sugar levels. You see, for many of us, as we get a little older, our bodies don't regulate blood sugar quite as efficiently as they used to. This isn't necessarily about having diabetes. It's just a natural shift in how your metabolism works. If you eat certain types of foods, especially those high in refined carbohydrates or sugars, particularly later in the day or in the evening, it can cause your blood sugar to spike and then, hours later while you're asleep, crash. When your blood sugar drops too low during the night, what's sometimes called nocturnal hypoglycemia, your body sees this as an emergency. Your adrenal glands kick in, releasing stress hormones like adrenaline and cortisol. These hormones are designed to raise your blood sugar quickly to keep you safe, but they also have the unfortunate side effect of making you feel wide awake and alert. And guess what time this often happens? Roughly 3 or 4 hours after you've gone to bed, which frequently aligns with that infamous 3 a.m. window. Think about it if you had a sugary dessert after dinner, or a large portion of pasta, or even certain fruits. Your blood sugar might have peaked an hour or two later, and then by the middle of the night, the pendulum swings the other way, triggering that hormonal wake-up call. So, what can you do about this potential blood sugar roller coaster disrupting your sleep? It's not about drastic dieting, but rather smart choices, especially in the latter half of your day. First, try to balance your evening meals. Instead of just carbohydrates, make sure you're including sources of protein and healthy fats. For example, if you're having dinner, pair that pasta with some lean protein like chicken or fish and some non-starchy vegetables. The protein and fat help slow down the absorption of sugar into your bloodstream, leading to a more gradual rise and fall in blood sugar rather than a sharp spike and crash. Think of it like smoothing out the ride. Also, be mindful of late-night snacks. If you absolutely need a snack before bed, choose something small and balanced, like a few nuts, a small piece of cheese, or a little bit of plain yogurt. Avoid sugary snacks, crackers, or large amounts of fruit right before hitting the pillow. Some people find it helpful to have dinner a little earlier in the evening, giving their body more time to process the food before sleep. Another thing to consider is alcohol. While a glass of wine might feel relaxing, alcohol initially raises blood sugar and then causes it to drop several hours later, which can also contribute to that middle-of-the-night awakening fueled by those same stress hormones. Limiting or avoiding alcohol in the hours before bed can make a significant difference. It's about creating a stable internal environment for your body while you rest, preventing those metabolic alarms from going off. It takes a little bit of mindfulness about what and when you eat in the evening, but many people find that this simple adjustment has a profound impact on their sleep continuity. It's a gentle way of working with your body's natural rhythms rather than against them. Beyond what you eat and drink, other evening habits play a huge role too. And again, these are things we might not immediately connect to waking up at 3 a.m. Take screen time. For instance, watching TV, scrolling on a tablet, or using a phone in the hour or two before bed. These devices emit blue light, which tells your brain it's daytime. This can suppress the production of melatonin, the hormone that signals to your body that it's time to wind down and sleep. Even if you manage to fall asleep initially, your sleep might be lighter and more easily disrupted later in the night if your natural sleep-wake cycle has been thrown off. It's like trying to sleep with the lights on, internally. Swapping screen time for calmer activities like reading a physical book, listening to quiet music, or chatting with a loved one can help your brain start preparing for sleep naturally. It creates a smoother transition from wakefulness to rest, making you less susceptible to those jolting awakenings later on. Another common culprit is caffeine. We all know caffeine keeps you awake, but its effects can linger much longer than you might think. Having coffee or even certain teas too late in the day can still be circulating in your system at 3 a.m., contributing to your wakefulness. Pay attention to your own sensitivity. For some, even a cup in the late afternoon is too much. Try shifting your caffeine intake to earlier in the day, or reducing it altogether if you suspect it's playing a role. These evening routines, the quiet rituals we engage in, can either set us up for success or subtly undermine our sleep without us even realizing it's happening. Now, moving on from the more direct physical impacts of diet and evening habits. Another powerful force that can shatter your sleep in the early hours is something many of us carry but rarely acknowledge in the quiet of the night: anxiety and worry. That 3 a.m. hour can feel incredibly isolating and quiet, and for many, this is when worries that you've managed to push aside during the day tend to surface and amplify. The world outside is still, there are no distractions, and your mind can start racing. You might start thinking about your health, your finances, family concerns, or even just the worries of the day ahead. This mental chatter triggers your body's stress response. Your heart rate might increase slightly, your breathing might become shallower, and your brain becomes more active, the opposite of what you need for restful sleep. It's a vicious cycle. You wake up, you start worrying about being awake, and that worry keeps you awake even longer. This isn't about having a diagnosed anxiety disorder. It's about the common human experience of having concerns that bubble up when the usual daytime noise fades away. The quiet of 3 a.m. can be particularly fertile ground for these thoughts to take root and flourish. One reason this happens so often around 3 a.m. might be linked to our natural sleep architecture and circadian rhythms. As we sleep, we cycle through different stages, from light sleep to deep sleep and REM sleep where we dream. These cycles are typically around 90 minutes long. We tend to have more deep sleep earlier in the night and more REM sleep and lighter sleep in the later cycles. Around the 3 a.m. mark, many people are coming out of a deeper sleep cycle or are in a lighter stage, making them more susceptible to being woken up by internal or external stimuli, and the internal stimulus of a worried mind is incredibly powerful. Furthermore, cortisol, often called the stress hormone, naturally starts to rise in the early morning hours to prepare your body to wake up. If you're already feeling stressed or anxious, this natural rise in cortisol can be exaggerated, acting like a second jolt that pulls you out of sleep right at that vulnerable time. It's like your body is already on alert, and any little nudge, whether it's a worried thought or a physical sensation, is enough to fully wake you up. Understanding this connection between your mental state and your body's physical response is key. So, how do you quiet that busy mind that seems to come alive at 3 a.m.? It's not easy, but there are strategies. The goal isn't necessarily to stop thinking, but to change your relationship with those thoughts. First, try to address worries before you go to bed. Some people find it helpful to keep a worry journal next to their bed. If you find yourself waking up with racing thoughts, quickly jot them down. This can help externalize the thoughts and make them feel less overwhelming, almost like transferring them from your head onto the paper. It gives your brain permission to stop circling around them in the dark. Another technique is simple mindfulness or breathing exercises. If you wake up worrying, instead of getting frustrated, try focusing on your breath. Inhale deeply through your nose. Hold for a few seconds. And exhale slowly through your mouth. Repeat this simple pattern. This helps activate your body's relaxation response and can gently lower your heart rate and quiet the fight or flight mode that anxiety triggers. It gives your mind something calm to focus on other than the worries. It takes practice, especially in the moment of wakefulness, but even just a few minutes can make a difference. Also, consider what you're doing during the day that might be contributing to evening anxiety. Are you overscheduled? Not taking enough time for yourself? Are there unresolved issues weighing on you? While this video can't solve all life stresses, recognizing the link between daytime stress and nighttime awakenings is crucial. Building stress management techniques into your daily routine, things like gentle exercise, spending time in nature, listening to calming music, or connecting with friends, can help reduce the overall level of stress you carry into the night. It's about creating a buffer against those 3 a.m. worries. And if you do wake up and can't fall back asleep after 15-20 minutes, get out of bed. Staying in bed feeling frustrated only makes the bed a place of anxiety. Go to another room with dim light and do something quiet and non-stimulating, like reading or listening to a podcast, until you feel sleepy again. Then, return to bed. This helps break the association between your bed and wakefulness and reduces the frustration that fuels the anxiety. Another factor that significantly changes as we age and can contribute to fragmented sleep, including those 3 a.m. awakenings, is the fundamental change in our sleep architecture and hormonal patterns. It's true that our sleep changes as we get older. It tends to become lighter, with less time spent in deep sleep. This means we are more easily woken up by disturbances, whether they are internal like those thoughts we just talked about, or a full bladder, or external like a noise or a temperature change. It's not necessarily a problem, but it makes us more vulnerable during those naturally lighter sleep periods, which often occur in the later half of the night around 3 a.m. Our levels of melatonin, the sleep-promoting hormone, also tend to decrease with age, which can affect both the ability to fall asleep and stay asleep. It's important to understand that some degree of sleep fragmentation is normal as part of the aging process. But constant 3 a.m. awakenings that are disruptive to your day aren't something you just have to live with. It's about recognizing these natural changes and then implementing strategies to support the best possible sleep within that framework. Environmental factors also play a huge, sometimes underestimated, role. Is your bedroom truly conducive to sleep? Think about light, even a small amount of light, like from a digital clock, a street light outside, or light filtering under the door, can disrupt sleep, especially in those lighter stages. Consider blackout curtains or using an eye mask. What about temperature? Most people sleep best in a cooler room. As we get older, our ability to regulate body temperature can change, and being too warm is a very common reason for waking up. Experiment with adjusting your thermostat, using different blankets, or wearing cooler sleepwear. Noise is another big one. Even noises you're used to during the day can be disruptive at night. If outside noise is an issue, consider using earplugs or a white noise machine or fan to create a consistent, calming sound environment that can mask sudden disturbances. And finally, think about your bed itself. Is your mattress still comfortable and supportive? An old, uncomfortable mattress can lead to tossing and turning, pain, and interrupted sleep. Investing in a comfortable sleep environment is an investment in your well-being. These seemingly small details about your physical surroundings can have a significant impact on how continuously you sleep, especially in the early morning when sleep is naturally lighter. It's also crucial to consider the potential role of medications. As we age, many of us are taking medications for various health conditions, and unfortunately, many common prescriptions and even over-the-counter drugs can affect sleep. This is absolutely not a suggestion to stop taking any prescribed medication. Never do that without talking to your doctor. But it's worth having a conversation with your healthcare provider about all the medications and supplements you are taking. Explain your sleep issues, specifically the 3 a.m. awakenings, and ask if any of the substances you are taking could be contributing. Sometimes, the timing of a dose can be adjusted, or perhaps an alternative medication might be available that is less disruptive to sleep. Blood pressure medications, steroids, antidepressants, even some medications for conditions like asthma or COPD can impact sleep patterns. Diuretics, for example, might cause you to wake up needing to use the bathroom, which then makes it hard to get back to sleep. Be open and honest with your doctor about your sleep. They are your best resource for understanding if your medications are playing a part in those middle-of-the-night wake-ups. Beyond medications, certain underlying health conditions that become more common with age can also be culprits. Conditions like sleep apnea, where breathing repeatedly stops and starts during sleep, restless leg syndrome, an irresistible urge to move your legs, or even GERD acid reflux can easily wake you up. For men, an enlarged prostate can mean frequent trips to the bathroom at night. For women, hormonal changes post-menopause can sometimes affect sleep. If you suspect an underlying health issue might be at play, especially if you have other symptoms like snoring loudly, gasping for air during sleep as reported by a partner, or a strong urge to move your legs, it's essential to discuss this with your doctor. They might recommend a sleep study or other tests to identify and treat the condition, which could significantly improve your sleep. Again, this isn't about self-diagnosing, but about being aware that these possibilities exist and bringing them to your doctor's attention so they can help you get to the root of the issue. Sometimes, addressing a seemingly unrelated health problem is the key to unlocking better sleep. So, we've talked about how things like balancing your blood sugar in the evening, being mindful of screens and stimulants before bed, managing daytime and nighttime anxiety, understanding the natural changes in sleep with age, optimizing your bedroom environment, and considering the impact of medications and underlying health conditions can all contribute to those frustrating 3 a.m. wake-ups. It might feel like a lot to consider. But the important takeaway here is that you are not powerless, and this isn't simply an inevitable part of getting older that you just have to put up with. Each of these areas offers potential pathways to better sleep. And often, making just a few small, consistent changes in one or two of these areas can start to make a real difference. It's about gently nudging your body and your environment towards a state that is more conducive to continuous, restful sleep. Remember, you don't have to tackle everything at once. Maybe you start by trying to swap that late-night sweet snack for something more balanced. Or perhaps you commit to turning off screens an hour before bed. Or maybe you try keeping a notebook by your bed to jot down those swirling thoughts if you wake up. Even small steps build momentum and can lead to noticeable improvements over time. Be patient and kind to yourself. Finding what works best is often a process of trial and error. It's also incredibly important to establish a regular sleep schedule. Going to bed and waking up around the same time each day, even on weekends, helps regulate your body's internal clock, your circadian rhythm. When this rhythm is strong and consistent, your body is better prepared for sleep when it's time, and you're less likely to have those jarring awakenings in the middle of the night. Think of it like setting your internal watch to be reliable. Even if you had a poor night's sleep, try to wake up at your usual time the next morning. This reinforces the consistent schedule. While it might feel counterintuitive when you're exhausted, napping during the day, especially long or late afternoon naps, can sometimes make it harder to sleep through the night. If you need a nap, try to keep it short, 20-30 minutes and earlier in the day. It's all about creating a predictable pattern that your body can rely on. And let's not forget the power of gentle daily movement. Regular physical activity, like walking, swimming, or gardening, can significantly improve sleep quality. It helps reduce stress and anxiety, tires your body out in a healthy way, and can deepen your sleep when you do fall asleep. Just be mindful of the timing. Exercising vigorously right before bed might be too stimulating for some people. Aim for activity earlier in the day or a few hours before bedtime. Even just a short walk after dinner can make a difference. It's not about becoming a marathon runner. It's about incorporating movement into your life in a way that feels good and supports your overall health, including your sleep. Understanding why you keep waking up at 3 a.m. can feel like solving a puzzle. And the answer is rarely just one simple thing. It's often a combination of these factors. A little bit of blood sugar dip, some underlying anxiety, a bedroom that's too warm, and the natural changes of aging sleep all coming together in those vulnerable early morning hours. But recognizing these different potential causes empowers you to start making changes. You have more control than you might think. These aren't just abstract ideas. These are practical areas you can explore and adjust in your own life. Remember, better sleep isn't just about feeling less tired. It impacts your mood, your cognitive function, your overall physical health, and your quality of life. Getting those consistent hours of rest is truly foundational to living well at any age. It's worth putting in the effort to understand your own sleep patterns and make adjustments. What part of this resonated most with you? Have you noticed a connection between what you eat in the evening and your sleep? Or perhaps you recognize how much those nighttime worries impact you. Sharing your experiences can be incredibly helpful, not just for you, but for others who might be going through the same thing. So, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. What are you going to try first? What challenges have you faced with sleep? Let's build a community of support around this common issue. If you found this video helpful and learned something new about why you might be waking up at 3 a.m., please give it a thumbs up. It helps more people find this information. And if you haven't already, consider subscribing to the channel. We share practical, evidence-based tips and insights designed specifically to help you live your best, healthiest, and happiest life at every age. Don't let interrupted sleep steal your joy or your energy. By understanding the potential reasons and making thoughtful adjustments, you can reclaim your nights and feel more vibrant during the day. Keep exploring, keep making those small positive changes, and keep living your best life.